Now here, nmap dash a. So if you see man nmap here, dash a capital, and we will use it with T4. So dash a here actually to enable OS detection and version detection, skip scanning, and transrupt. So let's test it out. Nmap dash a on 192.168.110 for the Metasploitable. And you can see it is taking longer, but it gives us every details possible that needed. So you can see that there are a lot of information, the version of the FTP, for example, here, and we have anonymous FTP allowed, whatever. Okay, so you can see that there it will start detecting the versions and the OS used there. Now, but it is taking longer. So to make it faster, T4, type the T4 option, as you can see. Now to get the version, we can also use this command, nmap -s v capital, and put the IP address that we want to scan, like this. Sorry about this, I have to put dot here. And this will give us the version as well. So actually, if I remove the -sv, you can see that it will give us port, state, and service. But with -sv, port, state, service, and version. So you can see that FTP, but which version? This is the version. As such, which version? This is the as such. And Debian, Ubuntu, whatever. Okay? Okay, now it's time to run the using TCP or UDP. So nmap, as simple as that. S for service, T for TCP, or U capital, T is capital, or U capital, by the way, for UDP. So T, and let's put the IP address. So this is will scan. So this will scan TCP ports only, and using the U capital here, this will scan on UDP. But you can see that it needs root privilege. So sudo shift1 like that. So you can see it's still working because it will take a longer time. Okay, now it's time to talk about the NSE scanning vulnerabilities, CVE, or common vulnerability exposures. So the command will be nmap. We will use -p capital N. Now this is, it will assume that all hosts are online, so it will disable the host discovery. By the way, if you type man nmap and /bash pn like that, you can see that it will treat all hosts as online, and it will skip host discovery. Okay, so nmap -p capital N, and here we will put -- script. Now this is used with the NSE, the Nmap scripting engine. So here you can choose or use the script that you have created using the LUA or the Lua language. So vuln and the target. Now this vuln, it will scan for vulnerabilities. This is a script used and created to scan for vulnerabilities. So like that, put the IP address. In my case, it will be 105. The IP address has changed, by the way. It's okay, no problem. And press enter. By the way, this will take a lot of time because you can see that the progress is moving a little bit. Now, I already make a scan for the Metasploitable 2 machine, which is this one. And you can see in my case, it took 9 minutes and 30 seconds. So here we can see that we are using the FTP, and you can see the FTP version is vulnerable and it has a backdoor. So as you can see, it is exploitable using this CVE. So which means that we are in the wrong. So this FTP server must be upgraded. By the way, this is a Metasploitable 2 after all. It is deliberately used to be hacked or to be vulnerable after all. Okay, so you can see that there are other vulnerabilities, like here we can see in the SSL there are some problem, whatever. Okay, and if I keep scrolling down, you will notice that we have different problem, TCP, I think the can see that the Apache server has problems, whatever, as you can see. So you can see that it scanned for vulnerabilities. And this what makes Nmap a very powerful tool. Okay, now it's time to talk about the DOS attacks, denial of service. Now Nmap, thanks to the NSE, the Nmap scripting engine, we can use this tool as DOS tool. By the way, don't use that to harm others. Use it to help your companies, organization, whatever, in a good ways, okay? And to harden your system, okay? So it will be used like that, Nmap, and we will use it on this port, or this IP, I mean, this host, okay? We will use -pn, we will use -- script, and we will use the DOS, the slow loris attack, and this is very common type of DOS attacks, and it's very powerful, by the way, because you cannot distinguish between the real attacks and the real users, because after all it is HTTP request, right? So slow loris and -- script args, because we want to put arguments, and we will put the HTTP -slow loris dot run forever equal true. By the way, this will be very exhaustion for our machine, so we have to put something before it, which is the max parallelism. So -max parallelism, so it will be like that, and press enter. And by the way, this will keep running until exhausting the machine we are hosting, which is the metasploitable machine. So after a long time, you will notice that the HTTP server there, when you go to your browser and put this IP, you will notice that it will become slower and slower, which means that the attack worked. So if you press enter, you will see that 2% is done. Like that, as you can see. Now, Nmap is very powerful. You can see that it has the brute force utility. So Nmap -- script, and you can choose, as I provided in the theory part, we can have a brute force attack against WordPress, SQL, and FTP server. So in my case, I will choose it on FTP server. So FTP -brute, and the IP address of the machine, which is the metasploitable machine. So if I press enter, it will work. But it's better to have -p option, which is the port, and put the 21, which is the port for the FTP server. So like that. So Nmap -- script FTP brute -p, it will be 21 for the FTP, and the IP address for the host or the machine. Now actually it will take longer time. So for now, as you can see, it is not moving at all. But with that, you can brute force the FTP if it is vulnerable, by the way. But this will take longer time. You know that because it is brute forcing after all. So it will take a lot of time. By the way, the brute force attacks is not the modern way to do the hack, to be honest. Because unless you have a supercomputer, don't do the brute force at all. Well, at least that's my opinion. Why is that? Because it will take forever. That's it. As simple as that. Okay, now to detect a malware on your site or on the site, so we will use this. So Nmap -- script, and it will be HTTP -malware -host, and then put the IP address of the machine, which is like that, okay? And it's better to have Nmap -s a small v capital, which is to service to version, to get the version of the machine. And you can see that it start scanning, and we got the following results. So you can see that here there are some information, and you can see that this RPC bind is somehow vulnerable or whatever, okay? Well, I'm not saying that Nmap is 100% accurate, but it is one of the best tools you can find out there. After all, for you as ethical hacker or as a hacker, you need to write your own tools. Depends on the targets you are attacking. Of course, I'm not saying about black hat things. I'm talking about white hat things to protect your organization or the company's organization you are protecting or you are working with. Now, other ways actually is to use the Google malware detection. So dash the script, it will be Google, it will be HTTP, I mean, dash Google dash malware. And instead of typing the dash SV, which we will use the dash P, which is port 80. Okay, or we can put it as that, it will do the job. So like that, and press enter. By the way, you can see that because we are using a local machine and this is not accessible from the world. So let's put another machine here or another IP. So let's put Amazon.com, for example, because Amazon is a competitor for Google. I'm just kidding, by the way. So here you can see that it will show us something like that. So actually it's better to have a public IP instead domain, because you know we have a load balancers and all of that stuff. So here you can see it didn't detect any malware or whatever. Now, what is a port? The port is a virtual location where networking communication starts and ends in a nutshell. Okay, so for more in-depth explanation, we need to establish a little background information. There are two kinds of network ports on each computer, 65,536 of each for a total of 131,082 network ports. And this considered as TCP and UDP. Okay, now each computer has an internet protocol, the IP address, which is how the network knows which computer to send packets to. So if you send a packet to the IP address, the computer knows what port to route the packet to based on application or packet contents. Each service running on the computer needs to listen on a designated port. So the first 1023 TCP ports are the well-known ports reserved for applications like FTP, the 21, HTTP 80, or SSH, the 22. And the Internet Assigned Numbers Authority, the IANA, reserves these points to keep them standardized. TCP ports from 1024 to 49,151 are available for use by services or applications, and you can register them with IANA. So they are considered semi-reserved. Ports 49,152 and higher are free to use. Now let's start with port scanning basics. A port scanner sends TCP or UDP network packet and asks the port about their current status. The three types of responses are below, which is open or accepted. The computer responds and asks if there are anything it can do for you. Closed or not listening. The computer responds that this port is currently in use and unavailable at this time. Or filtered, dropped, blocked. The computer doesn't even bother to respond. So we either have a respond or without respond, or we have a respond that the port is currently in use. Okay. Now let's start with port scanning techniques. Now, by the way, this is just a general idea about the scanning techniques. We will have in-depth about the Nmap scanning techniques. No worries. And in a theory way. Okay, and we will have the hands-on later on. First, the ping scan. This is the simplest scan. A ping scan looks for any ICMP replies, indicates if a target is alive. TCP half open, a fast and common scan that requests an ACK or ACK or acknowledge packet from a computer, also called a SYN, which means a synchronization or synchronized scan. Okay. TCP connect, similar to the TCP half open scan, but the TCP connect scan completes the TCP connection. UDP, which is slower than TCP scan. A UDP scan works best when you send a specific payload to target, such as DNS request. And we have the stealth scanning, quiet and unobvious. Stealth scanning is commonly used by hackers for this reason. Now, what are the differences between TCP and UDP? Now, we learned that we have TCP connect, UDP, stealth scanning, TCP half open, SYN, SYN-ACK. What is that? we will talk about it right away. TCP and UDP are the two most common protocols used for the IP networks or the Internet Protocol networks. TCP or Transmission Control Protocol is a nice orderly transaction protocol. TCP sends each packet in order, complete with error checking, verification, and three-way handshake to confirm each packet is successful, which is the SYN, SYN-ACK, and ACK. Now, I'm assuming that you have a simple idea of how TCP works, okay? So I will move on. Now, UDP doesn't have any error checking, but tends to be faster. And live streaming and online video games often use UDP for this reason, because it is faster. UDP is a connectionless protocol, so programs that use UDP just send the data, and if you miss a packet, you will never get it again, because it is a connectionless. There are no three-way handshaking, as we learned from here, the SYN, SYN-ACK, ACK, okay? So that's why it is faster and connectionless. Now again, I'm assuming that you are familiar or have a simple idea what is the TCP, what is the UDP, and how they works, okay? In a nutshell, let's say. So if you are not, please, you can just Google it, how TCP works. Just read a simple article. It's no big deal. What we need here is you need to have just a simple idea how TCP works. The three-way handshaking, verification, checking, the connection list, and the difference between TCP and UDP. Just as simple as that. Just type difference or TCP versus UDP and read a simple article and you will be fine. What is Nmap? Nmap is a network scanner utility used for port scanning, host discovery, and vulnerability scanning. Most of its functions are based on using IP packet analysis to detect and identify remote hosts, operating systems, and services. Nmap is used by large companies as well as smaller size organizations for port auditing, host monitoring, penetration testing, and similar tasks. Now, even with Nmap constantly being updated with the new features since decades, its core function remains as a port scanner, helping users gather data by sending packets to local or remote ports. This is done by waiting for packet responses to determine if ports are closed, open, or filtered. The most popular method of using Nmap is via the terminal command line console by performing Nmap full scan command. Now don't worry, we will handle all of that in the hands-on in this course. Okay, now it's time to prepare the environment. The first thing, we want to download and install VirtualBox. So from Google, download VirtualBox, go to the downloads, and from here, choose the version you want regarding the platform you want. So Windows host, OS X for Mac, Linux distribution, Solaris, and so on. In my case, I am using Ubuntu, so I will choose Linux distribution, and I will have Ubuntu 20, which is this one, okay? And then after you install it, just follow the instruction, as you can see from here, and you can just install it as simple as that. The same thing for OS X, the Mac, and the same thing for Windows, okay? Now, this is the first thing. Now, the second thing, we want Kali Linux, okay? Now, by the way, we can install Nmap for Windows or for Mac or for Ubuntu, by the way, but actually for you as ethical hacker, it's better to have Kali Linux, because Kali Linux is an operating system used for penetration testers and ethical hackers, okay? So yeah, it is better to have Kali Linux installed. So from here, you can go to the Kali Linux downloads, and from here, I want to choose a live boot, which is this one, and here you can download it, which is 3.7 gigabyte, which is Kali Linux 2021, okay? Or torrent, and you have the sum just in case to make sure that you have the right distribution or the right ISO file, okay? Now, the second thing, or the third thing actually, not the second, we want to have an environment to test the Nmap on. So we want to scan the port, the host, vulnerabilities, and so on. So actually, it's better to have a local machine or a testing machine for that purpose, not to test on a live target like google.com or Amazon or whatever. No, actually, this is bad. So we will have Metasploitable. Okay, so from here, Metasploitable, you can download it from SearchForge, or you can have it from Rapid 7, which is this one. Okay, but of course you need to provide information, name, email, the company you're working with. You can put arbitrary values, by the way. Okay, so you don't need to register and all of that. Okay, now after VirtualBox is downloaded and installed, now we want to have Kali Linux operating system. Now you may ask me, but why we need Kali Linux? Because by default it has the Nmap already there. Okay, and by the way, as again we are as a ethical hackers, we have to learn the right way, which is using a Kali Linux, because this is used mainly by ethical hackers, okay, or hackers generally. So from here, open the VirtualBox, new, and let's name it Kali or Kali Linux. And here you can choose Linux, and let's choose other 64. Okay, and you can choose next, put it as much as you want. By the way, 512 megabyte will be enough, but in my case I have a lot of RAM on my laptop, so I can put 2 GB, no problem. And here you can create a hard disk. Next. In my case I will put it as 50 GB, or no, actually it's better to have it as 20. Now it depends on your hardware again, because I have a lot. Okay, now this is the first step. Now here, let's go to the setting. While I'm choosing Kali Linux, let's go to the network. Make sure it is a bridge adapter, and make sure you are using the adapter you want. In my case, this is the Wi-Fi, not the Ethernet. And then go to the storage. So here, choose the empty and choose the disk file and choose Kali Linux, okay, which is this one, and press OK. Now after this is done, let's click on start. And as you can see, it will select, we want to select the Kali Linux 2021, which is this one. And let's start. And here in my case, I can put live. You can just run it as live, or you can just start the installer, which is this one. I will choose English, continue. United States, continue. Now for the host name, choose Kali or whatever you want. Domain name, leave it as empty. The full name for the new user, because by default Kali doesn't support the root by default, so you need to put a user here. So in my case I can put Kali. Username for your account, Kali, it will be, and it will be Kali, the Kali 123456. Now I know it's simple, just this is for the sake of this course. Okay, this is the password. By the way, you need to provide a secure password. This is just arbitrary password for the sake for this course. Okay, now if you got stuck on the configure the network part, make sure that you have the NAT first. From here, from the setting, return it back to the NAT. Then after it is done, you can return it back to the bridge. Now why we need the bridge, not the NAT? Because we want to be on the same network. Okay, so the Kali Linux will have an IP address on the same network of the metasploitable machine, which is that we want to use for testing. Okay, don't worry, we will handle that right away. Continue, and you can choose either separate or all files in one. In our case, it doesn't matter. So continue and finish. And yes, continue. Okay, now you see this use a network mirror and choose yes, continue. Now you will see that install the grub bootloader. Yes, and you can choose this device, which is the main device, which is our main device. Continue. Now the installation is complete. Now let's select the first one. Here, let's put the user that we created previously, Kali, and the password is Kali123456. Now we have the Kali Linux is ready. So from here, let's go to the full screen. Yeah, I think this is better. And from here, if I click on it, So here, if I type ifconfig, you can see that this is the IP address, which is inside the NAT network. So from here, from the machine setting to the network, and select bridge adapter. Press OK. If I type ifconfig again, you can notice that it is still the same problem. So for that, ifconfig down to the EF0. Or actually, it's F0 down. And of course, you need a sudo permission. So sudo this and Kali 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So you can notice that if I type ifconfig again for this, you can see that the network is down. So you will notice that, yeah? So again, up. Sudo ifconfig. Yeah, actually, I think I must... Yeah, I think it's better to increase the font size. So sudo ifconfig F0 up. Okay, like that. So sudo ifconfig, you can see that now we have the IP address, which is this one, which is inside the network. And this is what we want. By the way, you can see that Nmap is here, right? As you can see, Nmap is here. And by the way, if you don't like the opacity like this, just from here, from the file, the preferences, from the from the application transparency, put it to 0 and apply. You can see that now there are no transparency at all. And you can change, and by the way, you can change the color. So from here, green on black, if you like this. Actually, I prefer this because it's not just like I am hacker or something. No, to feel that like that. No, actually, it's better for your eyes, or at least for my eyes. I think this is better, comfortable for my eyes. Okay, now the next step, we want to prepare the environment. We want to download and install the Metasploitable, or we already downloaded it, so we want to install it so we can test Nmap against it in the next lectures. Okay, now after we prepared the Kali Linux, we want to prepare the Metasploitable, which is the machine that we want to run the Nmap against to test port scans, vulnerability, host discovery, and all of that. So from the Metasploit, make sure you are downloaded the Metasploitable 2, okay, which is you already downloaded. Now from here, new, name anything. So let's name it Metasploit or Metasploitable 2, and choose Linux, choose other Linux 64, 512 megabyte will be enough. Create, next, yes, 8 giga is enough, or more than enough actually. Now click on the setting for this machine, make sure it is a bridge adapter, and from the storage here, so actually we want to remove this, and we want to add a new hard disk. So from here, add, so let's choose it, yeah, the VMDK file here, choose it and click choose. So you can see that we only have this one and the empty, so we have this one and it adds a primary device 0. Click OK and just start it, as simple as that. Now after it is booted, you can see that it is only CLI command line or a terminal, and it will ask for a login, username and password. By the way, you can find them on the same Rapid 7, which is the MSF admin, which is this one. So if I go here, MSF admin, and again MSF admin, you can see that now we are logged in as MSF admin. And if you type ifconfig, you can see that, yeah, we are inside the same network, which is what we want. Now here, the environment is ready. Now we have the VirtualBox. Inside it, we have Kali Linux, the attacking machine, or the machine that has Nmap that we want to run the scanning techniques and all of that. We will handle it right away in the next lectures. And we have the test machine or the hacked machines that we want to run Nmap against it to test, scan, check the vulnerability, host discovery, and all of that. So you will not run that on a live machines or live targets, which is bad practice or bad thing. You may get in trouble. Okay. Thanks for watching. I will see you in the next lecture where we'll start handling the Nmap scanning. Okay, now the first thing, boot the Metasploitable and Kali Linux, and we will start. Now, if I type ifconfig inside Metasploitable, you can see this is the IP that ends with 110, and here inside the Kali ifconfig, it ends with 109. Okay, cool. Now the first thing, we will use Nmap utility and the IP address, which is 168.8.110, which is 110 for the Metasploitable machine. So if I type like this, you can see that Nmap, simply with IP address, it will give me all of the open ports. And in my case here, you can see the FTP, SSH, Telnet, and a lot of ports. The same thing if I want to do for a host name, but don't do this actually. So for example, google.com, and if I press enter, so Nmap, the IP, Nmap, the host name, google.com, amazon.com, Cloudflare, whatever. But actually, don't do this on a live target, because you may get in trouble. Now, of course, not just simple Nmap scan, it will get you in trouble, but it's better to do that on a local machines or test machines. Now you can see google.com has 443 HTTPS and HTTP open only. Okay, now it's time to talk about how to detect hosts. You will use the ping scan technique. So Nmap -S and P is capital, and this time we want to provide the range or the subnet of the IPs. So 8.0/24, like this. So S means or stands for service, and the service will be P, which means ping. It will send ICMP packets, and it is Internet Control Message Protocol. I recommend you to read more about it, the type of the packets, echo reply, echo request, and so all of that. Just a simple article will do the job, okay? And press enter. Now this will start scanning the whole network inside, or the whole network for this specific range. Okay, so in my case, I found 4 hosts are up. As you can see, this is the first host, the second host, which is, this is for the Kali Linux, Kali machine. Oh, sorry, this is for my Metasploitable machine. This is for the Kali Linux machine. This is some machine on the network, and this is for the router. Okay. Okay, now it's time to scan all the ports. By default, when we run the Nmap, this one, okay, remember when we run it like this, it will scan the first 1000 port. So in my case, I don't need that, or one specific ports. In my case, I need to scan all of the ports. How to do such a thing? The same command, but this time, let's increase the font size a little bit. This time, it will be -p dash, like this, and you can see it will take longer time. Okay, this time, it scanned and find that there are other ports like these ones, as you can see. So it scanned all the ports. By the way, we have other options or other shortcuts like -p 1/, which means 1 from 1 to 65535, like this. It will do the same job. So either to provide the port range or to put it like this -b dash. Okay, P stands for port, it's simple. Or you want just to check if the port 80, port 443, the HTTPS is open. So you can put that like this 80 / or sorry, comma, then put 443 or put 112, for example. Okay, so it will start scanning only these 3 ports. So as you can see, the 80 is open, the 443 HTTPS is closed, and the 112 is closed. All right. Okay, now how to scan multiple IPs? We can do this Nmap, put the first command, or the first IP I mean, and put the second IP. Okay, so I want to scan the Metasploitable machine and my machine, the Kali machine, like this. These are the ports for the first machine, which is the Metasploitable, and the reports for our machine or the Kali machine is all host. The host is up, but all the 1000 scanned ports on this are closed. Again, you can put another command, which is -p-, so it will scan all the ports for these two machines. Let's wait a little bit. So you can see that the first machine or the first target, which is this one, these are the IPs or the ports opened, and all of the ports, as you can see, all of the port range are closed. Okay, to scan the top ports. Okay, so we will use this command -- top - ports, and we want to put the number of ports, so 100 top ports, and for the IP address of my machine, the Metasploitable, which is this one. So you can see that it will start scanning the first 100 top ports, including these, as you can see, by the way. So if I change this to top 1000, top 10,000, and so on, you can see that the number will be increased. So here, the one unknown, but here we have this MSG, SRVR, whatever. Okay. Okay, now to read from list, first let's create the list. So touch list.txt, vim list.txt, and here let's put our IP address, and let's put Microsoft.com, Amazon.com, and Cloudflare.com, or anything. Again, it's better to have a test machines rather than live targets. Okay, but this will do the job. So yeah, we have it here, list.txt. So nmap -il capital list.txt. So here it will start scanning the ports, the hosts inside this list. So you can see that 4 IP addresses, one host is up, scanned. Okay, by the way, we can put -sp capital as well. So you can see that here are the first IP address, which is the Metasploitable, here for Microsoft.com. There are other addresses for Microsoft.com, of course. The same thing for Amazon.com and Cloudflare. Okay. So what we learned, that we can create a list of the IP addresses we want, and we can specify everything we have learned on this for this list of IPs, okay, or hosts. Here you can see that we have the parameter needed to get from a list, and before it we can put anything we learned, -sp capital, -p - -p specific ports, and so on. Okay, now to save to a file, so nmap -o n capital, and put the IP address we want. Sorry, I have to put output.txt, for example, and you can see that if I type here, we have output.txt. So if I type output.txt, yeah, you can see that all of the result will be here in this file. So we can use -o n capital like this. So let's increase the font size a little bit. So output.txt, and here is the IP address, and we can put an instead of an x, and here instead of text XML. So if I type here cat output.xml, you can see that this time it is in the form of XML. Now it depends on what your needs. Now it's time to disable the DNS, and that's to speed up your scanning. So nmap -n, we will use -n, and the IP address we want to scan. So here without -n, by the way, this will work fast because this machine is within the network we have. So without -n, it is much longer. So we will use -n. So if I type man nmap or nmap help and put -n, you can see that this is to never do DNS resolution, always resolve. Okay,